The post-Mania Week doldrums were highlighted by a lot of things that weren't happening between the ropes. Tired CM Punk discourse was reopened after AEW aired the All In footage, and the announcement of Dream Star fighting Marigold turned into some weird WWE AEW proxy war from those who don't inhabit the Joshi space. While all of this was happening, there were some pretty good wrestling matches taking place, and that's what we'll be discussing in this video. Quite honestly, I'm using this as a reminder to myself to stop being so online and just focus on the matches, which is why I'm on this platform to begin with. As always, a reminder that I haven't seen every single match to have taken place, and the ones I do choose to talk about are all based on my personal enjoyment and nothing else. A slight spoiler warning, as I will be talking about match finishes here too. After watching 81 matches spanning 11 promotions, here are a few of my favorites from the second week of April. The latest in Noah's generational feud was advertised as potentially the last time they'll square off. While I can't say for certain, this did carry a feeling of finality to it, especially from Kaito's point of view. I don't think this reached the heights of their Budokan title match, or even the preview tag from a few weeks ago, but it's still Kenoh and Kiyomiya, and they rarely miss for me. The layout for this match is a little strange. Kaito is sick of Kenoh's antics over the past few weeks, and starts the match with an elaborate beatdown of his rival. The first third or so of the match is just Kiyomiya beating Kenoh's ass all over Korakuen Hall and back. There's some cool bits in here, like Kaito hitting a double stomp to Kenoh under a pile of steel chairs. I think this section is a little exaggerated, but it does a good job from the get-go to make this match feel much more different from the previous encounters. Back at ringside, Kaito gets a little too ambitious with his run-ups, and Kenoh counters a Shining Wizard, getting in one of his lethal kicks to give him a lifeline. Kenoh uses this opportunity to hit his signature foot stomp from the top rope in a similar fashion to the Shiozaki title match from January. It's a high-risk, high-reward move that pays off, bringing both men to equal footing. The damage sustained to Kenoh's right leg does leave him restricted, as in his first attempt to punish Kaito, he can't follow up after his first kick to the spine. There's a moment where this registers, and he makes an impromptu cover, which is a very nice detail. Kaito fires up and resumes raining down strikes on his rival, though Kenoh resorts back to opportunistic, high-risk offense to counter. This time he withstands a flurry of punches in the corner, only to hit an elevated German suplex out in response. This carries the match to its final third, which is in line with what you would normally expect from these two. A lot of strikes, big moves, and Korakuen hanging on to every near fall. After Kaito goes full Muto with his mannerisms, he pins Kenoh after a couple of Shining Wizards. The point of this feels like giving Kaito the most decisive victory over his career rival, and to finally position him as the ace to be. Noah has not had the best track record with this, so I'll believe it when I see it. Regardless, it's another good entry in the catalog from these two, one that puts Kaito in line to regain the GHC Heavyweight Championship after being out of the title picture for over a year. A different generational clash in the most literal sense, as the Sons of Blue Panther took on the Divinos and Hijo de Stuka Jr. in Arena, Mexico. This was my first time watching the Divinos, as prior to this, I'd only see gifs and clips of them pulling off some nutty combination offense, and I was eager to see it in context of a full match. This match in particular is one with great pacing, allowing for everyone in the match to shine. It also helps that it's taking place in front of Arena Mexico's notorious crowd. The first fall is dedicated to the Rudo team taking over and generating heat. Their game plan is divide and conquer, and here it's incredibly effective. There's glimpses of the aforementioned combination offense from the Divinos, like multiple approaches to electric chair scenarios, standard heel work like pulling on the mask of Hijo de Blue Panther, or getting pot shots in while the legal man is being consulted by the official. Stereo crossfaces get the Rudos on the board first. It's the slowest of the three falls, though it's necessary to be in order to set up what comes next. For a newer fan like myself, this is a great crash course to learn what the Divinos are about, while getting a better understanding of how these matches are structured. Fall 2 begins with the Rudos still in the driver's seat, with the Divinos' offense becoming more elaborate. One of the cooler instances being a plancha to the outside, with Hijo de Blue Panther in a slingshot position. From here, the match takes a turn while on the ramp, as the Rudos begin to torpedo their opponents over the ropes. Blue Panther Jr. escapes, dishing out tilt-the-world backbreakers to everyone on the ramp. This allows for the Technicos to start flying around. quickly forcing a comeback to even the score at 1 fall apiece. Fall number 3 takes an explosive turn as the natural escalation of the match reaches its peak. The pace quickens as everyone is cycling in and out, hitting all kinds of dives and high-impact offense. A wayward Tope launches Blue Panther Jr. into Io de Blue Panther, while a Tope con Hijo off the stage ensures that they're out of the equation. With Dark Panther isolated, the divide and conquer tactics prove to be the difference, as dives from Io de Stuka Jr. and Io de Villano Tercero are enough to put the Technicos away. Part of the joys of diving into a new promotion or era is getting acclimated with everything the roster has to offer, and when it's within a match with classic dynamics and follows a simple structure, it's easy to get sucked in. It's great putting on an undercard tag on a whim and finding one I enjoyed as much as this one. An eventful week for Dragongate saw the conclusion of the Rey de Parejas tournament, as well as the start of the Gate of Passion tour. I do recommend checking out the tournament final, though it's yet again the Vibes and Z-Brats feud that makes it into the series. A doubleheader in Fukuoka over the weekend featured a Captain's Fall elimination match, with the former Kung Fu Masters leading their respective sides. While I won't go through all of the individual eliminations, I think that the match is handled in a way that lends a lot to Jackie Funky Kamei, given that KZ and Big Boss Shimizu are the first 2 people eliminated in the match. Jackie is once again great when being worked over, but given that he's in the role as captain, there's a heightened sense of urgency for his opponents to go after him. This adds to a nicely built hot tag to Shimizu before a low blow from Jason Lee leaves Jackie and UT in a 4-on-2 scenario. While Jackie is the pulse of this match as the babyface in peril, UT is given quite a bit here, which is nice to see. He's great in the 4-on-2, pushing Jackie out of the way, breaking up key pin attempts, and even gets a crucial elimination for his troubles. Another major story beat is hit as Hijo stops Z-Brats from using a chair to end the match, eliminating Shun Skywalker in the process. Bringing Big Hug back into the picture raises the tension between all these factions heading into Dead or Alive, and protects Shun in this match as well. A very nice stroke of booking ahead of their 5-way Apuestas cage match in a few weeks. With the field clear, we get a showdown of the 2 captains, as Jackie and Jason are the only 2 left. A quick yet furious exchange ends in Jason getting the better of his former tag team partner with a knee strike to the face. Given that these 2 are extremely familiar with each other's movesets, I like Jason getting the upper hand with moves he's only started using after his turn. Another loss for Vibes only applies more pressure, and something has to give at Dead or Alive, with KZ risking his role as leader in the cage match. Similarly to the elimination match in February, the efficiency in booking shines as we inch closer to the boiling point of this feud. Amidst some technical difficulties and an extended intermission, we still got to see Chris Hero square off with Kazusada Higuchi on the 14th. There was a caveat here, and I'm not sure if an audible was called, but if you've seen this match, you'll know what I'm referring to. The best way I can describe it is that I'll be discussing the entire segment here, whether or not you consider it one match or 2. At a glance, the first 12 minutes of this is exactly what you would want, a slow escalation that grows more heated by the minute, especially when the match spills to the outside. These 2 beat the living hell out of each other with some disgusting strikes, complemented by Higuchi's great selling. There's few wrestlers currently active who can balance being so imposing, yet are also this good at getting their ass kicked. Hero tries his luck by trusting his elbow against Higuchi's iron skull, which only angers him, and the sight of Higuchi repeatedly bashing his own head into the ring post is absolutely insane. This brawl on the outside is the highlight of the match for me, and that energy is carried over when back into the ring. As the slugfest continues, some colorful language from Hero incites Higuchi, who begins teeing off in the corner against the discretion of the referee. A few rounds of this leads to Higuchi obliterating the ref with a lariat in the heat of the moment. This is where Higuchi vs. Hero ends for a lot of people, and even with a no contest, I thought what we got kicked so much ass, and Hero looked his best since returning from hiatus. As Higuchi looks to resume the beatdown on Hero, still Tippin hits, and none other than Bryan Keith appears. Commentary tries to make the connection that they have a score to settle after Keith's tour in DDT, though I don't think these 2 actually interacted in January. Maybe Hero enlisted the bounty hunter services. Nonetheless, he's here to make the save, and as the two go after Higuchi, Keith's scheduled opponent for the evening, Mecha appears. This isn't the first time a hero match on these West Coast shows merges into a tag, and the next 13 minutes are straight out of a fever dream. To the soundtrack of an ambient drone, a comedic tag filled with a ton of shtick ensues. As Mecha literally drills through the competition, desperate measures are required, leading to Hiro and Keith suggesting they dump him off the balcony of the Don Quixote. Mecha counters by launching its fist at Keith, who is still in the ring, in one of the best comedy spots I've seen in a while. Considering the fist armament was already broken by this point, it's very impressive they nailed this. Keith is able to bounce back, taking advantage of Mecha circuitry by spilling water in his face, immobilizing the robot. A Tiger Driver puts an end to the insanity. I totally get if the direction they went with wasn't your thing, but I had a blast with the comedy portion of this match. It's ridiculous in every sense, but a hell of a lot of fun. One of the strangest matches all year, and I suggest giving the whole thing a shot once the VOD is up. Off the heels of a fantastic match with Timothy Thatcher, Daniel Makabe has another great display, this time against Zack Sabre Jr. at prestigious Roseland 8 event. I'm admittedly new to Makabe's work, though as his career winds down, matches like these showcase just what I've been missing. Early stages of this match feel like a grappling exhibition, and if you've never seen Makabe before, this would act as a good entry point. It's a real treat seeing these two riff on the mat, especially given that nowadays, Zack rarely faces opponents who can go as well as Makabe can in this style. It's fluid enough, but feels incredibly practical, and the myriad of counters is something to behold. As the match progresses, a weak point for each competitor is revealed through Zack working Makabe's arm, while Makabe counters by attacking Zack's ankle. These never feel like a giant target, but rather points that provide an escape for either man as the match gets more desperate. By this point, strikes are introduced, and Makabe specifically throws some straight rights that look nasty. These sequences bring on a new level of intensity to the match, though it settled as it began, on the mat. The finishing stretch rules. It's wrestled at breakneck pace and feels like any of these elaborate holds could end the match, making all the counters in these high pressure situations all the more impressive. With every limb compromised, Zack Sabre Jr. submits Makabe with "I'm a long way from home." My time before recording tonight was limited, so I didn't get to spend as much time with this as I would have liked, though my first impression is a gleaming one. Something I've put into perspective over the last few weeks is that good technical wrestling can really make the time fly by, and that's exactly how I felt over these 23 minutes. The Elton Blue change kit was a nice touch as well. And before I go, here are some honorable mentions. Mio Momono and Sari vs Chihiro Hashimoto and Mika Iwata from Sendai Girls January 7th. I didn't know whether or not to cover this given that it took place in January, but it's one of the better tag matches of 2024 to this point. It went up on Sendai Girls YouTube on April 12th, and it absolutely rules. It's up for free, go watch it. Rising Hayato vs Yuma Anzai from All Japan April 11th. All Japan's take on the World Champion vs Junior Champion was pretty good. It gives Anzai a marquee singles match before Champions Carnival, even if the time limit draw was a little obvious. I attended Windy City Riot on April 12th, though in interest of time, I haven't watched the broadcast back yet. I did really enjoy Azumi vs Stephanie Vaquer and Moxley vs Naito in the building, so let me know how you felt if you watched the live stream. Battle of the Belts 10 from AEW, April 13th. A very enjoyable hour of wrestling where everything ranged from decent to very good, especially Roddy vs Rocky Romero. And last but not least, Kosei Fujita vs Doki from New Japan, April 14th. Two of my favorites on the New Japan roster fought for a World Junior Heavyweight title shot, and the styles clashing between the two made for some fun interactions. And that is it from me. If you got this far into the video, thank you so much for your time and for hearing what I have to say. Be sure to do all of the obligatory YouTube stuff by liking and subscribing, and find me on Twitter or Blue Sky at OuterStevon. Let me know if I missed anything worth checking out, and I'll talk to you again next time.